Hello, everyone, and welcome to this newest addition to the Another Podcast family. That's right, this is going to be hopefully a weekly segment, at least for the NFL season. As you may have heard and recognized some of those themes, this is a football podcast, and this is a specific football podcast where each and every week myself and hopefully a guest, I do have a guest this week, and we'll get to that in a minute. Myself and hopefully a guest will be making predictions on the upcoming week of games. We will put out this podcast Thursday mornings before the games, and this is the first one. So a little bit of a longer intro at this one, just because I want to explain what's going on. I was sitting home and thinking, how can I make what I would like to do as far as picks is concerned, because I enjoy doing podcasts, and this is something very simple. So why not pick winners for the football games? I could do it on my weekly Warlock Wednesdays podcast, absolutely, but my podcast is already very full, and I enjoy doing it and keeping it down to the standings and the statistics and, nitbits here and there, tidbits, whatever you want to call it. Nitbits, I can't talk most of the time, as many of you who've listened to me know. However, this was something I wanted to do with someone else. So, this week, I sat down with my friend Tyler, and Tyler and I picked our picks for the upcoming week games. Now, it started off pretty tame, but I'll let you give a listen to what we have in store for you. So, without further ado, let's get to those picks right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new segment that I'm doing, an NFL Picks segment. We're going to do this hopefully on a weekly basis, maybe not always with Tyler, but hey, if we can get Tyler every week, I'd like to welcome Tyler right now to the show. Tyler, say hello to the interwebs.
Hey, how's it going, people?
Alright, so what we're doing here is we're going to talk football, and specifically we're going to do the Week 3 picks for this coming week of the NFL season, and we're going to kick things off as they do in the NFL on Thursday Night Football.
I love that Thursday night.
Yeah. It's kind of a teaser, though, because you get the Thursday night game, and then you got to wait 2 days for the rest of the game. But it's nice.
Yeah, but if it's a really good game, it's worth it.
It definitely is. All right, and this week has a good matchup. The Kansas City Chiefs visiting the Philadelphia Eagles with Coach Andy Reid returning to a place where he coached for 14 years before being unceremoniously let go in the offseason.
I was pretty disappointed by that firing, not going to lie.
Yeah, it's tough when you don't live up to the expectations, but I mean, there's so many coaches that I think get blamed for a lot of things that the coach is always the first to go, right?
Honestly, I blame the production of the players. Deshaun Jackson did absolutely nothing that year. They couldn't get the quarterback situation worked out. Vitt wasn't quite clicking at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was brutal.
And it's always easier to fire the coach, and it really is, because when you think about it, you can't fire like 53 players.
No, but some of them should be benched every once in a while.
That's a good point. All right, so let's get into this Thursday night game. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Who do you got and why?
I got Philly. I know Kansas City's on a tear right now, and Andy Reid really wants to win, but I think that Chip Kelly offense will really come through. What they did against Washington was spectacular, and even though they lost last week, they showed potential. I think they got this at home.
You know what? I am actually agreeing with you on that. I think Philadelphia at home, and that's kind of one of the main reasons I'm picking them, is they're at home. Kansas City is off to a 2-0 start. Now, you have to remember, while the players are different, this is the team that went 2-14 last year. So they've already matched the win total. They are not going to keep this torrid pace. I think, even though Andy Reid's coming back and there's going to be some emotions into this game, I really think that high-powered offense of the Eagles is just going to be too much, especially in Philadelphia.
Plus, everyone's going to be talking about Andy Reid and wanting to win. But are people going to talk about Chip Kelly and him wanting to win to prove that he is a replacement for Andy Reid?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, my only question now is, what's the reaction Andy Reid's going to get? Are they going to boo him, or are they going to cheer and give him an ovation?
Who knows? Fans are crazy and fickle.
That they are. But yes, I think I agree 100%. I think Philadelphia is going to win this game, going at home actually, because I think Kansas City, like I said, they're 2-0, but have they played great teams? I mean, they did beat Dallas, right? So there is that.
Who hasn't beat Dallas?
Good point. So that's our Thursday night game. So let's get into some of the Sunday games. We'll go with the 1 o'clock starts first. And first one I have up is the Texans going into Baltimore to take on the struggling Ravens.
I'm Houston all the way. I don't think Baltimore's got it. I think they're overrated this year. Their defense is not anywhere what it used to be. What's his face? The quarterback just got his big contract. Yeah. Flacco, that's right. I can't believe I forgot that. Got his big contract, and he's been playing like crap.
I agree. And Ray Rice is hurting. He's missed practice already this week. I am also picking the Texans. They really have many weapons on offense. You got Matt
Arian
Schaub.
Foster is looking
Arian
really
Foster. Andre Johnson. He's been a little banged up, but at least he's practicing. There's just so much, and then you look at that Texans defense. J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt? Did you see him bike up last week?
Oh, he's amazing.
Oh.
Like, seriously. And then you look at the Ravens. Their defense is not as good. Losing Ray Lewis, I don't care. As a player, he wasn't as good as he was in his early career. But as inspiration, that man led that team all the way. You
can't replace an emotional leader like that.
You cannot replace. So I think the Ravens are going to suffer a lot this year and suffer this week by losing to the Texans.
Yeah, they're lucky. Their whole division's suffering.
They are lucky because I was looking at the standings there, and that division, I cannot believe how badly that. Like the first week, I think every team in that division lost.
Yeah.
Because they didn't play at all against each other. They played against other teams from other divisions. Whereas, sometimes you don't face that. But the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know that must have hurt you on Monday.
Yeah. Try not to throw too much salt in the wound.
Try not to, but, I am a Bills fan, so don't worry. We're both, so we both got that going for us. But, and then Baltimore has a win.
Yeah.
But
very poor win against Cleveland. They were down 6 points going into the half.
That is going to be I think the only team that comes out of that division to the playoffs is whoever wins the division.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for your favorite team, I think that team is going to end up being Cincinnati. I think they have more of a cohesive unit put together. And did you hear the big news today?
What?
Cleveland Browns traded their star running back Trent Richardson to the Indianapolis Colts for a first-round draft pick. Yeah, really.
What? I know they benched their quarterback and they're going with I don't even know who his name is.
Hoyer or something like that?
I don't even know.
Yeah,
Richardson?
Richardson is gone. He is a number 3 overall pick. The same year Andrew Luck was number 1. Yeah, Indianapolis Colts now have the number 1 pick and the number 3 pick from that same draft. They have Andrew Luck, and now they have a bona fide number 1 running back. Not that Ahmed Bradshaw was bad, but he's older and banged up. Now they have Trent Richardson.
Oh, that's wow.
Yeah, that's huge.
That is
okay.
Huge.
So, like you said, that division is going to be very interesting. So, moving on to the next 1 o'clock game, we got the New York Giants off the Manning Bowl taking on the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. Who you got?
I got the Giants with a desperation win. They need to do something. They need to prove something. They have to win this game. Otherwise, their whole season is toast. I think they're going to show up and get that much-needed win. Otherwise, they're done.
Again, we're agreeing so far all the way through because I have also picked the New York Giants to win this game. No shot at the Panthers too much. I mean, they didn't look great against the Buffalo Bills. That was a big win for Buffalo last week with that last minute drive. But Carolina's weapons have not been performing. You have Cam Newton, who hasn't been performing very well. Steve Smith was dominated by Leotis McKelvin. Now, as a Bills fan, I know Leotis McKelvin is not that good. So, I mean, kudos to him. I mean, he stuck with Steve Smith 90% of the game. Like Steve Smith, that was very low yardage. D'Angelo Williams has not been playing very well, so their offense is not there. You take the New York Giants and you look at what Eli Manning has done, even in the 2 losses. He's going to shred the Panthers.
He has to.
I know it's desperation, and I know the running back situation is very weak. Like, I mean, you got David Wilson, who's a fumbles machine, and then they signed Brandon Jacobs, who didn't play much last week, and I don't even know if he played at all. But he'll probably be playing this week, whether he's the starter or not. I think they're still going to go with David Wilson. Eli Manning alone is going to throw that ball so many times. I mean, he wasn't going to beat Denver. That was just a given.
Oh, no.
But they could have come back against the Cowboys, and they almost did.
Yeah, but the Cowboys had, what, 7 plus 6 turnovers, and they only won by, 5 or 6 points?
Exactly. There was
if the other team gives you the ball 6 times, you better win by at least 3 scores.
Oh, absolutely. And the Giants, or the Dallas Cowboys squandered some stuff. And that goes on Tony Romo, too. I mean, he's definitely
I'm not a huge fan of betting against Tom Coughlin.
No, and you're right when you say this is a must-win for the Giants. 0-3 to start the year, not a good position to be in. Good position to be in. So let's move on to the Detroit Lions taking on the beat-up Washington Redskins.
Honestly, same thing for the other time. I got to go with Washington because they're 0-2. They got to make something happen. RG3, everyone loves him. He's got to prove himself, and he's got to prove it this week by beating the Lions. If they don't beat the Lions, they're done. Just like the Giants. Do or die.
Well, the Redskins are at home, but this is our first difference. I have picked the Lions in this one. I think RG3 is maybe physically ready, although he's still wearing a brace. But he's not mentally ready. He had played, whether you believe in the preseason or not, he didn't do anything in the preseason. He had some practices, but he had no game situations. Wait till week 4, week 5, RG3 will be back.
Yeah,
it's going to be too late.
Find a way other than RG3 to make something happen, and they have to win that game. 0-2, you can't go 0-3. They were predicted to win that division, or at least come in second. To go 0-3... I don't think they're going to let that happen. I think they're going to dig in deep and find something. Plus, their defense is pretty impressive. Kerrigan, Fletcher, Orakpo, they've done pretty decent.
Their defense is impressive, but can they handle Matt Stafford, Megatron, Calvin Johnson, Reggie Bush? I can't pronounce the guy's first name, Joaquin Bell, or Joaquin Bell, whatever the other backup running back in.
The key to shutting that offense down is trying to shut down Megatron. It's almost impossible.
It really is,
but if you can keep him down, then that's the key.
And I agree. I think you keep him down, you're good. However, this year's different. If Reggie Bush is playing, and I mean he has been practicing, it's limited, but he has been practicing, which leads me to believe he is going to end up playing. With Reggie Bush playing, he's not only a running back, he can catch the ball and make things happen. We've seen it throughout his entire career. He did it in college. He did it in New Orleans. The only place he really didn't do it very well was Miami, and I kind of blame the whole offensive line for that.
But honestly, if Washington can force Detroit to run the ball against them, they'll win that game.
I agree, though, that the Redskins need to do something. I just don't know if it's this week. I honestly think Shanahan screwed up. I think Shanahan should have started Kirk Cousins, I think his name is, in week 1 and week 2.
As long as it's not Rex Grossman.
No. Don't go with Grossman. But you go with Kirk Cousins for those first 2 games. Give RG3 a little bit more reps in the practices during the week. And, you have him there on the sidelines. Maybe have him run a couple of plays. But don't start him. He was hurting. He never had the game experience. Work him in. This guy is your franchise quarterback. We all know that. He's going to be a great quarterback down the line. This year, though, I think they should have taken it slow. Kirk Cousins is not a bad quarterback. He proved that last year when RG3 had gone down a couple of times.
Honestly, they screwed up when they let RG3 play that playoff game.
I could definitely agree with that, too.
Anyone that saw his knee collapse on him in the game?
That exacerbated everything that happened to him in the offseason.
That's why they're 0-2 right now.
I agree. But on this one, I have to go with the Lions. I think They are, even with the issues of Ndamukong Suh, their defense is not great, but it's not weak. Their offense is very powerful. I'm going with the Redskins going to 0-3.
Well, I'm going with the Redskins finally getting the win. What's the next game on the list?
Next game on the list, we got the San Diego Chargers moving in and coming to take on the Titans in Tennessee. I here have to go with the San Diego Chargers.
Ouch. I can't never trust Rivers.
No, it's hard to deny what he's done so far, though. I mean, yes.
Rivers chokes just as bad as Romo.
He does choke. Boat. I will say this. He does choke. It's early, though, and he's been throwing like a madman. You look at a guy, Eddie Royal, who came over from the Broncos. He has 5 touchdowns already. 5 touchdowns. Like, he's leading the pack hugely. I think the next closest to him is Wes Welker with 3. So, I mean, when you've got Peyton Manning and he's only thrown, I mean, Peyton Manning spreads the ball around, so that's not a knock against Peyton Manning. He's got, I think, 9 passing touchdowns already in 2 games. Yeah. So, but Phillip Rivers has been playing better. I think the problem in San Diego is the defense, but Tennessee has not shown me that they're ready to bust out of whatever their funk they're in. I mean,
I don't know. They played pretty good against Houston.
They did, but they still lost. Houston came back in the end, and that's why I think San Diego can win this game, because I think Houston's offense showed the weaknesses that Tennessee's defense has. And San Diego's...
But you were talking about San Diego's defense. If they don't stop Chris Johnson, Tennessee's just going to run the clock, run the ball, and pound it down their throats. They won't even let Rivers get on the field to throw those touchdowns to Eddie Royal.
You could be right.
My money's on Tennessee this game.
You're going for Tennessee. So we've had 3 in a row that we agreed on, and now we've got 2 in a row that were on opposite ends here. So that's
well, what's the next one then?
All right, next game up. This one, I think we're going to be on the same page, but we'll see. It's the Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals, taking on the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans.
That's a no-brainer. My man Breeze has got that.
Yeah, so we have to agree on this.
Would you go to the Big Easy against Drew Brees?
And
no.
Don't forget Sean Payton. He has been everybody's like, he's not that much of a factor. You know how much of a factor he is? You can see it in the way Drew Brees plays. Last season, Drew Brees played frustrated. Now they did succeed. They had some success. They weren't a great team, but they weren't a horrible team. You look at him this year, he's playing like almost like he's gotten a weight lifted off his shoulders. He's playing confident. He's playing calm, collected. He's the Drew Brees that he was when he won the Super Bowl.
Honestly, Sean Payton, I think, is the best NFL coach in the NFL right now.
I could not disagree. I could not disagree more, because he is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Probably
and you could not agree more.
Yeah, okay, I did say it wrong, didn't I? I agree completely. There we go. I agree completely. I was trying to get the wording right. I just didn't do it. But no, I agree completely. Sean Payton is definitely like you always have players, and we said this with Baltimore. Ray Lewis was the heart and soul of that team. Sean Payton is the heart and soul of the New Orleans Saints.
Well, yeah, look at that year where he got the knee problem when the person went out of bounds and hit him in the leg.
Yeah.
He stayed on the sidelines and coached everything.
Exactly. I mean, the New Orleans Saints, as much as you'd like to see a team like the Arizona Cardinals succeed, because, they're always the underdog, you can't go into New Orleans, you can't go into the Big Easy and take one from those Saints.
Well, not easily, anyway.
Not easily, no. And not when you're the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, next up on the docket, I think we might agree on as well. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers moving into the Foxborough Stadium to take on the Patriots. I've got the Patriots. I don't like the Patriots, and I don't think they've been a great team. I think they've squeaked out 2 wins.
Honestly, they've been struggling with their rookie wide receivers, but there's no way Belichick should have dropped a game to Tampa Bay at home.
Exactly, and that's what is
just
here. It's going to be another close one, I think. Tampa Bay's shown that they can be good. The only problem with Tampa Bay is they have no quarterback. Josh Freeman, no offense, kid, but you're not a great quarterback.
I think they have more problems than just that.
No, it's true, but quarterback is one of the biggest positions. You need a solid quarterback if you're going to do anything in this league.
They need discipline. That penalty against the Jets week
one,
yeah,
that took away a win. Tampa Bay should have had that win, and instead of that, Tampa Bay sits 0-2 as opposed to 1-1, because I think they were going to lose last week anyways. I forget who they played last week, but I did not have them winning. They should have beaten the Jets, and the Jets should be 0-2 as well.
Honestly, the Patriots need this game because they need the practice to the wide receivers.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
That's what it is.
We know Gronk's not playing again this week. We know Amendola's not playing again this week. So, I mean, it's going to be the same old, and Peyton Manning, sorry. Tom Brady needs to work with his receivers more. Now, apparently last week, the Patriots had no practice. They did a walkthrough because of the shortened week. They decided that they weren't going to practice at all. So they had their Monday meetings, they had a Tuesday walkthrough, they had Wednesday off, they played Thursday. So...
Well, it didn't work out for them because they played pretty poorly.
They did play pretty poorly, and they
got lucky. They were playing the Jets.
And that's true, but I think they even got lucky against the Bills. The Bills kind of shot themselves in the foot when they didn't run out the clock with 5 minutes to go. Now, that's not to say that why do I keep saying Peyton?
I don't know, but I just want to throw in, you're only as good as you're lucky, so.
That's true, and you know what? You gotta be lucky to be good, right?
Yeah.
And they've been lucky, and they have not looked like the New England Patriots of old. Like, everybody goes into a season lately in the last probably 8-9 years saying the New England Patriots are going to win the AFC East. And that's a prediction almost every year. This year, I don't know if that's, going in, people were saying that. Now people are looking at it going, oh, well, they're not the New England Patriots of old. Is this going to continue to work out? I say this. I think New England still wins the division. I think New England still wins the division because like you just said, Gronk is coming back. He's going to be, I figure week 4, week 5, he's going to be back.
Plus, once Tom Brady gets some practice and some more reps with those wide receivers, they got it.
Amendola's going to come back, and he was very good in week 1 against the Bills. Their defense is sound. I wouldn't call them the old New England Patriots defense. But New England's never had a great defense. They've always been about offense. And as you said, when you work with them more, they have great rookie wide receivers. And those guys will learn. But if Brady keeps looking as frustrated as he did against the Jets,
who could blame him? Did you see how many drop passes those guys had? I was frustrated.
You can't blame him. I mean, you're frustrated. You show your emotion, and that's part of what football is. But at the same time, you gotta contain it and talk to these kids because they are rookies. Brady is old. He's been in this league a long time. I don't know how old he is. I was gonna make up an age, but I think he's in his late 30s. These kids are coming out of college. They're in their late or early 20s. So you gotta kind of, yes, you're frustrated, but you also gotta say, okay, you know what? We'll give it to you next time. You gotta do that.
They went to what? Dobson 3 times? He dropped all 3 passes? Yeah. I would have been just as mad as Tom.
But what's worse about that one is Dobson is not a rookie.
Oh, he's not?
No.
Well, he should have caught at least 2 of those 3. Oh,
yeah.
I felt the
that was.
I don't even like the Patriots.
I can understand. You're going, okay, man, you've been in this league a couple of years now. You've got to make these catches, especially when they're there on your hands. When they're, it's the old rule. If you can touch it, you got to catch it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next game. We got the Packers going into Cincinnati to take on the Bengals.
I like the Packers.
So do I. I love Cincinnati's defense. Don't get me wrong. I think they're a solid defense core, but Aaron Rodgers has been just tearing it up as well this year. And I mean, he's got great receivers in Jordy Nelson and I can't think of the other guy's name at the moment. Randall Cobb. And then
Michael Finley.
Yeah, Jeremiah. Well, yeah, I was just saying receivers, but tight end. Yeah, absolutely, Jermichael Finley. And then you throw in they've already ruled out Lacey. They're going to say they're going to keep him out because of the concussion from last week. But boy, did James Starks ever come in and run that ball very well. So I don't think they're hurting that running back by having James Starks start the game.
Well, Cobb had a monster game too last week.
Oh, absolutely. And just
Cincinnati, yeah.
Like I said, I like their defense. I like they're a young team. They got AJ Green. They got Andy Dalton. I mean, they're going to be an up-and-coming team. And you know what? They could make the playoffs this year, but I just don't see them. Even though it's in Cincinnati, Green Bay's offense is too powerful. Green Bay's defense is too good. I think Green Bay comes away with the win.
I think, yeah, me too, because I don't think Cincinnati's got it. I mean, they dropped the ball against Chicago.
Yeah.
And a couple different plays in that game in Pittsburgh might not have gone so well. I mean, they should have done a lot more against Pittsburgh.
That's the thing, though. Their defense did everything in that game. Like, you take away that final touchdown, they held the Steelers to 2 points for 90% of that game.
I'm actually going to blame the Steelers' offense more than I'll give props to Cincinnati's defense.
Of course you would. You're Steelers fan. It was funny. I do the pick'ems on the CBS website, and last week Coach Cowher was, of course, the only person that picked Pittsburgh to win that game on Monday night. And I'm going in looking at it, and I'm like, okay, if he gets that wrong, that means I go 12-4 and he goes 12-4. I tie the coach for picks, and I did because they lost that game, and I was like, yes. So I was pretty happy with that. But at least Coach Cowher sticks with his teams, and you know what? That's loyalty. You always look at Shannon Sharp. He's always picking the Broncos or the Ravens because he's played for both. But I just don't see Cincinnati winning this game. They're not elite yet. They're not tops there.
Give them a couple years.
Oh yeah, like I said, they're a young team and they're upcoming. But Green Bay, too powerful, too much on both sides of the ball. I think Green Bay walks out of there with a double-digit win.
Yeah, probably. What do we got next?
We got the Rams going into the Cowboys' home.
Okay, it kills me to say this, but I gotta pick Dallas.
Yeah, I had to pick Dallas as well. I mean, St. Louis is rebuilding, and
they've been rebuilding for the last 10 years.
Very good point. But when you lose Steven Jackson, you're on at least with Steven Jackson, you can say, no, we're retooling. They are officially rebuilding. They have to start from scratch. Sam Bradford, not the greatest quarterback. He's probably not even going to be in the top 15 in the league. But he's not the guy you build a team around either. Like, St. Louis is going to have to really look at this upcoming draft and totally rebuild that team. And going into Dallas, Dallas is not a great team. We all know that. They choke way too much, but they're a decent regular season team. They're one of the top teams in the regular season. They always choke.
I don't think they're gonna win their division, though. I think they're gonna find a way to blow it like every other year.
Yeah, that division, I think the Giants still might win that division.
It's between them and the Eagles. Whichever team gets going and gets that hot streak has got that division.
Absolutely agree. But yes, Dallas to win this game, absolutely, totally. So up next, we have the Cleveland Browns visiting the Minnesota Vikings, and I think this is a no-brainer as well.
Adrian Peterson is going to have a
all day. AP is going to have 170 yards, 3 touchdowns. Okay, maybe not, but you know what? Cleveland they stink.
I don't know. He ran
said
pretty good against Chicago.
We just said earlier that they traded away their star running back. They're starting a no-name guy at quarterback. It's chaos in Cleveland right now. And you know what? That goes to the ownership, right? They just got a new coach, a new general manager, and a new CEO. They're going to rebuild that team in the way they want it. And I don't think Trent Richardson fit into their scheme. I don't know how he doesn't. That's a guy you build a team around.
Honestly, I think Christian Ponder is just going, yes, I'm the number 1 quarterback in this matchup. How often does that happen?
He is the number 1 quarterback in this matchup, and he probably won't even have to throw the ball very often. He could hand it off to Adrian Peterson all day and do those little dump swing passes, that's all he needs to do all day against Cleveland. And I still
every once in a while do play action down the field just for fun.
I think, but I do know because I was reading this earlier today. The coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and I can't think of his name right now, has said their rookie wide receiver, Cordarrelle Patterson, is going to get a lot more looks against Cleveland. And you know what? As bad as Christian Ponder is, if he gets this kid the ball, I've seen this kid's, some of the college tapes that he did. This kid can definitely be a great wide receiver in this league if you get him a better quarterback. But if he can get if the kid plays in the slot and you give him the ball with some options to run, he's going to make things happen. So we might see that against the Browns because the Browns are just crap all the way around. They're no good offensively. They're no good defensively. In fact, the predictions for Cleveland was a 0% chance of winning. Now, I rarely see that, but they have a 0% chance of winning according to most.
Honestly, the only good thing you can say about the Cleveland Browns is they can look at the Jacksonville Jaguars and say, well, at least we're better than them.
True enough. So let's move on to the 4 o'clock games, and we got the Atlanta Falcons visiting the 2-0 Miami Dolphins.
I'm going Miami. I'm not impressed with what Atlanta's done this year. And Miami, they're looking pretty decent. They started throwing to Mike Wallace. He had a pretty good game. I think Miami at home with the upset.
Oh, wow. Well, we are going to disagree on this one because I do pick Atlanta. Now, I thought about changing my pick once I found out Steven Jackson was going to miss 2 to 4 weeks, but Jacquez Rogers is not a horrible running back. He's just not as good as Steven Jackson. But you still have Roddy White. You still have Mighty Ice. You still have Julio Jones, who's actually probably going to be catching more of the balls because Roddy White is still nursing that ankle injury. He's more of a distraction out there. Like, it's like, will they throw it to him?
Tell me about it. I got him in fantasy.
Yeah, I know. I've got him in a couple of mine. It's tough. But he will come back. You know he will. And if teams start doubling Julio Jones because they're saying, okay, well, Roddy White's not going to catch it because he's injured, that's when Roddy White's going to catch it. The reason why I'm picking Atlanta is because I think Miami is overshooting the moon right now. They do have some talent there, don't get me wrong. They've obviously are 2-0, but I think Atlanta's defense is actually going to win in this game. I actually see this being a low-scoring game. We're talking under 20 for both teams.
Yeah, I just don't think you can discount the deep threat that Mike Wallace brings.
Nope,
in
you
Pittsburgh,
can't.
he had so many touchdowns, over 40 yards. It was ridiculous.
You can't. You still have Ryan Tannehill throwing him that ball.
Doesn't matter. He threw him for over 100 yards last week. Doesn't matter who's throwing.
Did. You're right. He did. But
I'm with Miami on I guess that it's considered an upset at home.
Oh, yeah.
Dolphins.
Even though Miami's at home, that is definitely considered an upset because of who they're playing. You mean the Atlanta Falcons are almost a perennial playoff team. Like, they're there every single year.
Yeah, and then every year they choke. It's actually quite funny to watch.
It is quite funny to watch, but they are in those playoffs every single year. So,
all right, what's our next four?
Our next is my team, the Buffalo Bills, taking on the New York Jets in New York.
I don't care. Bills.
Bills.
One of my rules of football is never bet on the Jets.
Great rule, because I'm also going with the Bills. But
doesn't matter who their quarterback is.
They are my team, but in this game, I just think E.J. Manuel has shown more potential and more expertise than Geno Smith ever has. Yes, the Jets won their first game, but
barely.
And they had an opportunity to win their second game. But let's face it, Geno Smith is nowhere near E.J. Manuel at this point. E.J. Manuel has more weapons. He's got C.J. Spiller, Fred Jackson, Robert Woods, Stevie Johnson. Scott Chandler's the tight end. He's not a great tight end, but he's great when it comes into that red zone. Like, once you're within that 20-yard range, he's definitely a great tight end in that zone. He's also a great blocking tight end, which is why C.J. Spiller and Fred Jackson usually have the games that they do. You put all that together, and what do the Jets have?
A hell of a lot more than the Jets. The Buffalo Bills have a hell of a lot more than the Jets.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got to take Buffalo, even though it's, again, in New York Jets. I'm looking at Buffalo going 2-1 right now, and if my pick with Atlanta is right, the Miami Dolphins will be 2-1, and the Patriots will be on top with 3-0. So, hey.
I think it'll be Miami and the Patriots 3-0 each.
Oh.
And I can't wait to see them play.
Oh yeah, that'll be interesting. So next up on the docket, we have those Indianapolis Colts who made the big trade, taking on the very hurt, not hurt as an injury, but very pride hurt 49ers.
I think the 49ers at home got this. I think they got whipped so bad, they're going to come out and they're just going to be like, yo, last week was a fluke, and they're going to prove themselves this week. That's all they got. I'm going San Fran, even though Indy just picked up Richardson.
Okay, and I am also going San Fran. Like, I love the fact that Indianapolis is doing very well with their young quarterback. They have Andrew Luck, as I said. They just traded for Trent Richardson. So they have a nice young running back who has talent. He's not just like some bum that they traded for. He has some serious talent. And then you still have Reggie Wayne, that presence, that veteran presence. But you're right. San Francisco's coming off a humiliating loss on primetime television against the Seattle Seahawks, where Seattle embarrassed them. Seattle embarrassed them.
I want money on that game.
I mean, I'm waiting for the rematch. When Seattle goes to San Fran, that is going to be huge. Because
doesn't matter. Russell Wilson's better than Kaepernick.
Well, that's why I want to wait and see. Because Seattle, I'm sorry, when it comes to playing in that stadium, Seattle's pretty much untouchable. Like, I mean, they lose games there. Don't get me wrong.
I know.
They're undefeated there. But when you play in that stadium and you hear that crowd, the quote-unquote 12th man, it is so hard to play there, and I think that was more of a factor.
Well, I'm pretty sure they set a record last week.
They did.
Like 131 decibels.
They set a Guinness World Record. The Guinness people were there, and they set a Guinness World Record for most decibels from a cheering crowd.
Yeah, it was like 131 something.
Yeah, it was big. Oh. It was like loud too. Like, I mean, even on the TV, when you can turn it up and down, it doesn't really matter. You don't really get the full effect. You could tell that the stadium was loud. It was literally shaking the cameras with the amount of noise that was going on.
San Fran didn't do anything to take the crowd out of the game.
No.
Number one rule when you're against an arena, stadium like that, you got to score big and you got to score early to take them out of the game. Otherwise,
take them out of the game early. Yep, absolutely, take them out.
Okay, do we even have to talk about the Nets game? Jacksonville at Seattle.
Well, we do have to say that Seattle's going to win. And Jacksonville's gonna get crushed. I'm sorry, Jacksonville. Although I will say this, they're not the worst team when it comes to are they the worst team? Yes, they are the worst team point differential wise. They've scored only 11 points against giving up 47.
Yeah, that's terrible.
There's
no ifs, ands, or buts.
That is horrible. There's some pretty bad ones. Cleveland Browns have given.
They're making Oakland look good.
Well, Oakland.
Think about that.
We're gonna get to Oakland, but yeah, Jacksonville. No way, Jacksonville goes into Seattle. And after the way, I don't even think Jacksonville scores. I think this is going to be a whitewash. Like, if Jacksonville scores, it might be a field goal. I'll give them
the benefit of a field goal.
I'll give them a benefit of a field goal, but I don't even know if they can do that. Mostly because Seattle is just too good at home, and they're too good of a team right now. I mean, they're coming off the huge momentum of basically crushing the 49ers. So, Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't know what you do. Just don't sign Tim Tebow.
I feel bad for you. I'll send you a Band-Aid in the mail.
All right, so let's go to the much anticipated matchup that I have to miss going to your house to watch, and that's the Chicago Bears going into Pittsburgh to take on those Steelers.
I want to point out to all the listeners to this, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. This is a extremely biased vote. I don't care. Go Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got this. I trust in Mike Tomlin. Big Ben's going to come through and actually do something for once this season. And Polamalu's going to shut down Cutler. Go Steelers.
All right. We had the biased vote earlier when I voted for the Bills, even though I still think on paper they are even better than the Jets. Here, I'm sorry. I got to go with Adam on this. I think the Chicago Bears are just going to be too much for the Steelers. Now, I will say this. The Steelers at home are very good. But the Chicago team has a much better... Like, right now the Steelers don't even know who their running back's going to be this Sunday. So, the Bears have Forte. They have Cutler, who's playing very well under Mark Trestman. And I think that's been the key with the Chicago Bears. when you looked at when Cutler was good in Denver, it was because he had a quarterback-friendly coach. Now, he's good again, or so far in 2 weeks of play, he's been good again under another quarterback-friendly coach in Mark Trestman.
Yeah, but Cutler tends to turn the ball over, and you cannot do that against a Dick LeBeau defense led by Polamalu.
But he hasn't been doing that a lot this year.
He still has a tendency to turn the ball over.
Not this year, though. Look at the past, and when he was with Chicago, ever since he's come to Chicago, I will agree with you. He turns the ball over way too much, but that was because he was under pressure a lot more. He's not getting that this year. This year he's had time to throw. He's been making good throws, and you also have they also have a running back in Matt Forte who can kind of take the pressure off as well. One of the things,
don't discount that Dick LeBeau defense. I think they're
I'm not discounting them. I'm not saying this is going to be like a whitewash or anything. I think this is going to be a close game. It's going to be down to the wire. This could come to a final drive, whoever has the ball last. I just think Chicago has the better chance to win the game. Now, I will give you that the Steelers' defense is still the Steelers' defense.
If Pittsburgh fixes those offensive issues they've had the last 2 weeks, and they actually get some productivity out of that offense, they got this game.
Well, we'll find out Sunday night, and I'm sure that's going to be such a great game to watch. But I have to pick Chicago in this one. I watch the CFL. I'm one of the few people who actually watch the CFL. Mark Trestman, when he was in Montreal, was a very good coach. I think he's turned Chicago around. I think Chicago is going to compete for that division title.
That'll be interesting. Green Bay, Chicago.
Green Bay, Chicago. That's going to be a huge matchup. You got to remember, Green Bay has a loss on their record. Chicago does not at this point. Could change Sunday, but I'm predicting it won't.
Oh, that will change on Sunday.
I'm predicting that Chicago will walk away with the win. But hey, the games have to be played. You know what? Even if you're the worst team in the league, Jacksonville, you could still win a game.
Okay, my only question is, who picked Oakland to show up at Denver on Monday night?
I don't know. But
I don't even know if I want to watch that game. I might just watch it just to watch Peyton Manning throw another 7 touchdowns because I got him in fantasy.
I'm going to watch the game for 2 reasons. Peyton Manning and Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor has shown me that while he's not an elite quarterback, he's a rookie. He's a second-year guy, right? He's not a fresh rookie, is he?
I'm not sure. It's the first time I've heard his name this year.
I believe he's a second-year guy. I think he was with Oakland last year, so I'm going to go with him being a second-year guy. All right, now the Oakland Raiders are 1-1. They are going to be 1-2 because I am picking Denver. How could you not?
Yeah.
Denver's just way too much offense, and
there's some crazy people in Oakland that will disagree with you. But I've seen how they dress on TV.
I've seen how they dress on TV as well. But I'm interested to see this kid play, which is why I do want to watch this game, because he is the RG3 of this year. He can throw the ball and he can run the ball. In his first game, he threw for 74 yards and ran for 141. In fact, in week 1, there were only 4 rushers that crossed the 100-yard mark, and one of them was quarterback Terrell Pryor.
Yeah, if he even gets a chance against that Denver Broncos offense, Manning's just going to milk the clock, throw to every receiver.
Manning won't milk the clock, though. That's the problem. Manning will just throw the touchdown and let his defense crush him.
It's been half an hour. No.
Anyway, Ray, I got to go.
All right.
Thanks for having me on your show.
No problem. We'll talk to you next week. Probably.
Yeah. Ciao.
Bye. Thank you, Tyler, for being on the first ever NFL Pick'em. That's what I'm going to call this little segment, I think. We got a little condensed on time. We had to kind of rush it there at the end. You know, some people had other things going on. That's understandable. You know what? That's fine. This was a great first week. I hope we can get Tyler back each and every week. We'll try and get him back every week. And we'll compare the stats. We'll see how we do on our own picks. And maybe one of us is going to do better than the other. We did have some differences, so that's always good. When there's differences, then there's a chance for somebody else to succeed. Now, that last pick, again, just in case it was not in question by anybody. We both picked the Broncos. That is it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it, and come back next week and listen for more. We're going to put this on Thursdays on the Another Podcast Network. It's going to go live Thursday morning, just after midnight, so it'll be available all day Thursday before the first game. And I hope you've enjoyed it again, and we'll see you next week. I'm out. Thanks for listening to Another Podcast from anotherpodcast.com. Don't forget to go on iTunes and or download right from anotherpodcast.com. That's EHNOTHER podcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Another Podcast. Be sure to check back for tomorrow's show only on Another Podcast, your Canadian podcast network. Anotherpodcast.com. Not a sponsor.